Hello and welcome to the Vinyl Sanctuary. My name is Christian and I hope that you will join me in taking refuge in records. So I'm here today with another album ranking video as part of my 1980s series, and I will now be looking at the year 1987. I think again it has been a very strong year, and that certainly came to light when I was looking through the records in my vinyl collection that I own that were released in that year. So I had a lot. It was quite a similar situation to when I did 1980, where I think I had well over 50 albums from that year. But I've trimmed it down to a final 25. I've ranked them, and as usual, I will talk about the top 5 in a little bit more detail. So for anybody who's new to the channel, I will just give you a brief overview of how I like to do things here. So I will be showing you the records front and back, the covers. I'll show you the inners if there's anything of interest in there, any photographs or lyrics or anything, and anything that sort of pops into my head anecdotally, any trivia, I'll mention that too on camera. Hopefully I'll get all of that right because I'm talking completely off the top of my head. And I'll also mention a few favourite tracks as well. So these are all albums that I love, that's why they're in the 25. The ranking is never an easy thing to do, but it's also a lot of fun. And I'm always interested to know with you viewers if you've got any favourites of your own, if you agree with anything that I've chosen, if anything that you disagree with, any that you think I should have in. So the only thing to make clear again to people that may not have watched me before is I only show records that I happen to own in my collection. So there could be some startling omissions here for 1987 and you might be wondering why I haven't shown it. So it'll either be because I don't own it, or it's simply because I do own it and I just didn't feel that for me personally, in my opinion, it was worthy of being in my top 25. So I always clarify that when people comment to me, and I'll always let them know one way or the other how that happens to be. So what I'll also do as well is if anybody hasn't watched any of my previous videos in the 1980 series, I'll pop links to all of those videos in the description box to this video here that you're watching right now. So you'll have 1980 right through to 1986 to catch up on. I will also let you know that I am getting quite known for my videos to be pretty lengthy. That's my style. That's what I like to do. I like to go in deep on these albums, and I like to go into a lot of detail. So I always thank everybody in advance for being here and for your time and attention. And if you do make it through to the end, then I really enjoy the fact that you've stayed with me, and you can always let me know what in particular interested you, and if there's any albums that maybe I've talked about that will inspire you to go away and explore, discover, revisit, whatever the case happens to be. This is why I do the channel. It's just to share my passion with music and to meet like-minded people out there in the big world. So thank you very much for being here. Let's get into it. Right, so we're starting today at number 25 with a band that were formed in Croydon, and they very much inhabit the space rock, drone rock sphere for me personally. I think that they take a lot of inspiration from the likes of, sort of early Pink Floyd, Stooges, Can, that type of thing. So if you're into really hypnotic sort of droning rock, that builds up an atmosphere, sustains a repetitive rhythm and tone and mood, lots of fuzzy distortion, wah-wah guitars, that sort of stuff, something that you can get lost in, then I really recommend this opening album to you today for 1987, and that is Heaven's End by the band Loop. And I do love that cover because I think it really just captures the essence of this record. It's quite a sort of a foggy, hazy sort of a cover there. You can just about see the band members' faces, but it's a little bit obscured. I love the colour palette as well. Love how it's been rendered there. Obviously, they've done the band name there as a loop. And yeah, it's just really hypnotic music. I actually find it rather beautiful the way that it's done. It's just sort of capturing the mood. And as I say, these songs can unfold over several minutes. They just continue to build and build. So this is the type of stuff that I like to put on when I want to chill out. It's the kind of music that for me, I just do get kind of in a bit of a trance with it, just get lost with it, and it just makes me really happy. So I'm very, very pleased to be showing this one off. So yeah, we can get a far better look at the band there. It's a great black and white photograph there. Just think they look really cool. And then we've got 3 really good portraits of the 3 band members there as well, just along there. He's even cracking a smile there on that one, which is good to see. So yeah, original pressing this one, Loop, if you're not aware of them. Robert Hampson is the leader of the group. And yeah, favourite track. So it is definitely an album that you do need to, you need to listen to it in its entirety, because I do think there is an overriding sort of vision to the album. I've mentioned it about a few albums before. I don't think it's one where you can cherry pick tracks easily, because it just almost feels like you're sort of picking a fragment of the album. It's not like a distinct batch of songs. It's kind of a mood piece, I would say. But let's have a look. I do love the closing track, actually. Carry Me is lovely. I actually really do love side 2 of this album. Too Real to Feel as well. Heaven's End, the title track, is excellent as well. And yeah, Soundhead as well, actually, is a really good opener. So yeah, it is really strong throughout. And if you're not aware of Loop, or maybe you've just heard of them by name and you feel inspired to give them a listen, based upon the fact that I have got them here in the top 25, then please do let me know how you get on with them. So yeah, if you're into space rock, psychedelic rock, then check out Heaven's End by Loop. That's their debut album, I believe, as well, 1987. Okay, so we're moving now into, we're going over to Scotland, and these are a group that I believe were formed in Paisley and were associated with the kind of the twee pop, indie pop, C86 kind of movement that was going on in the UK at that time. Obviously, this is a release from 1987, but for me, this is just really infectious pop music, indie alternative slant to it, but just really catchy melodies. It sounds great. It's an album that I've come back to many, many times over the years, and for many people, it might be a bit of a forgotten classic, or maybe a lot of people out there might feel that it isn't known widely enough. So I'm going to shine the spotlight on it here today, and do that with a lot of pleasure. So we've got here now Foxhead's Stalk This Land by Close Lobsters. So yeah, Scottish group. Absolutely packed full of brilliant tunes, this one. They just stick in my head so easily whenever I put the record on. I love the opening track, and it has to be my favourite on the album, which is Just Too Bloody Stupid. And I know now that because I've mentioned that track, it's going to be stuck in my head all day. And there's this really catchy refrain in it where it sings "pop like that." They always pop like that. Whenever I hear the pop like that, I can just hear the vocal melody in my head, which is what great music should do. It should be immediate and it should be memorable. And Foxhead Stalk This Land has many tunes that fit that particular bill. So let's see if we've got anything inside here to show as well. We have indeed. Oh yeah, there's lots of great photographs here. So there you can see. There we go. Just plain white on the back. So yeah, the Close Lobsters were Andrew Burnett, Robert Burnett, Tom Donnelly, Stuart McFadden and Graham Wilmington. And we've got Hammond organ on here by John A. Rivers as well, which I believe is the same John A. Rivers who produced a lot of albums by Felt, who, as a lot of people who know my channel, I'm a huge fan of the band Felt, so there's some Hammond organ work on there. But yeah, along with the opening track, let me just get that back in there. Let's pop that in. Pop that in, pop like that. Let's get it back in. See if it will pop back in. There we go. Being a little bit finicky, this one. This is what you tuned in for, isn't it? To see me struggle to get a record back in. There you go. Persevered. Did it. All done and dusted. Back in its sleeve as where it should be. So yeah, I love Sewer Pipe Dream as well. There's some kind of liner notes and things here included on the tracks as well. Foxheads as well. Foxhead Stalk This Land. You know, the title track is great as well. In Spite of These Times. Yeah, this is such a good album. Kiss the Flower. Oh, I Kissed the Flower in Bloom. Wow, what a song that is. I have to mention that one. Yeah, lovely. So, yeah, released on Fire Records. So if you're not aware of Close Lobsters and you're into your indie pop, something a little bit different, quite unusual in its own way as well, very quirky, then please do check out my number 24 for 1987, Close Lobsters, Foxhead, Stalk, This Land. I don't think you'd be disappointed with that. Very tuneful. And as I say, very memorable. Those words and phrases will get stuck in your head. I'm pretty sure of that. Okay, so we're moving over to a group now who, yeah, I mean, clearly a lot more well known than the Close Lobsters are. Not that there's no shame in that whatsoever. We're talking here about a group who've got a huge reputation, formed in New York, and they've been mentioned on the channel before. Just massive critically, and have been hugely influential. Lots and lots of albums to their name. No wave and alternative, indie, everything. I'm sure you've already guessed what I'm talking about now. This was a big album for them in 1987, and it is Sister by Sonic Youth. So I'll turn it there. You can see the photograph there that way. And as you can see here, it's credited there, the band, as the Sonic Youth on this one. And this, because it's a reissue, it doesn't feature a couple of photographs which were actually, they've been blacked out due to copyright issues. So I think there was on the original pressing of the album, I think there's a photograph of Disney World or Disneyland, I think has been blacked out, and then there was a picture of a person where consent had not been acquired. So on these later pressings, they've been blacked out, but all the other artwork is in place. I think this one from memory as well has just got one of those plastic inners to it. Yeah, there's nothing there to show. There is actually, yeah, we've got a sheet here I can show you that came with this reissue, which is in lovely condition as well. But yeah, I mean, again, kind of similar to Loot with Heaven's End. I sort of feel that this album by Sonic Youth is another one that the listener, I feel, really needs to kind of explore it in its entirety. I mean, yes, you know, it is of course possible to always select favourite tracks, and I always endeavour to do so, but sometimes with certain albums, because they just create a mood, it can often be difficult just to isolate one or two favourites, because I think, again, it's almost about experiencing the thing in its entirety. So all I can say is that whenever I'm talking about albums like that on my channel, I would just encourage you to, if you're interested by what I have to say, will be just to go away and experience the full thing, and then let me know how you get on. But let me see. So yeah, I mean, Schizophrenia on side 1, track 1, is a great opener. It is one of my favourites, just because it sets the scene for the record very, very well. Let me see what else I like on here. Tough Now is good as well. Yeah, Beauty Lies in the Eye. I Got a Catholic Block on here as well. Hot Wire My Heart on side 2. So yeah, very, very, very strong album from Sonic Youth. It's not my favourite of theirs. I would say that there's at least 2 or 3 others that I do prefer to Sister, but this is excellent. It is a very, very, very good album, and certainly worthy of being in my top 25 for the year. And I like that as well. It just says there as a note on the label, All Rock by Sonic Youth. Can't really disagree with that one. It does rock. So maybe a little bit cleaner sounding than some of their earlier records. I mean, it's certainly a progression from, Bad Moon Rising, which was in 1985. Again, I'd be interested if people rate it higher than maybe the likes of Evil, which came out the year before in 1986. So, I'm always keen to discover how people rank Sonic Youth, because they've done so many albums and lots of different records of theirs have different fans. So it can be difficult at times just to choose that one overall great. But I do have my own personal fave, but that will be for another time. Okay, right, so let's move on. So this next group here, we're from Barking, and we're very, very politically minded, very politically led. So we didn't just have Billy Bragg, the great Billy Bragg, coming from Barking, who had a lot to say politically and was very tuneful and very talented. There was a group that came from that area as well, and they released an absolutely brilliant album in 1987, and that band is called McCarthy, and the record is called I Am a Wallet. There we go, I Am a Wallet by McCarthy. So, as is customary for me, wherever I possibly can, with my devotion and love for my favourite band of all time, the Manic Street Preachers, it was indeed the Manic Street Preachers that introduced me to McCarthy. They have covered a lot of McCarthy tracks during their career, and it was a very early cover, or early-ish cover, in the Manic's career that got me into McCarthy, that I was able to discover them, and that cover was Charles Windsor, which pops up on this album here. So I heard the Manics doing that song, thought it was brilliant, found out it was McCarthy, then I went away and had to go and have a look. So yeah, and I think from a political point of view as well, with their far left leanings, they were certainly preaching and talking about things in a way that would certainly have resonated with a band like Manic Street Preachers. So there's a lot of crossover, and I know that Nicky Wire in particular, bassist in the Manics, is a huge fan of this album, speaks incredibly highly of it. So what do we think of it musically, or what do I think of it musically? Well, it's certainly indie pop. Again, it's kind of in that in it's C86 in terms of musicality. If we're going to use that as a genre name, I'm not really too sure whether that's going to irk people. I certainly don't intend to do that. But we are talking about a specific time in music, and McCarthy do have a very jingly jangly, birdsy 12-string inspired sound going on, and then they are coupling those beautiful melodies, very, very gorgeous chord changes, great choruses, etc., with hyper political lyrics, very charged, a lot to say, brilliant rhetoric. If that's the sort of thing that you do lean towards, they just have got a real commitment to their cause, which I admire a great deal, as did the Manics, certainly in the early days as well. So yeah, this is a superb album, I Am a Wallet. So you can get the tunefulness of it, and you can also hear a different point of view as well, if it's not something that you're particularly familiar with, in terms of where they're coming from a political standpoint. So got John Williamson on the bass, Gary Baker on the drums, we've got Tim Gain on lead guitar, and Tim Gain went on to form Stereolab after McCarthy came to an end. And then we've got Mouth and guitar, so singer, we've got Malcolm Eden there. So yeah, this is brilliant. So it's got quite a lot of tracks on it, so I'll just name a few very quickly. So the aforementioned Charles Windsor, I've got to mention that as a favourite because it was my introduction to the group. I love an MP Speaks, which kicks the album off. God Made the Virus is good. The Wicked Palace Revolution, yeah, there's quite a few on here. I'll name just a couple more. The International Narcotics Traffic, great title, and then it ends with, the procession of popular capitalism. So yeah, some of these lyrics are kind of like mini essays, I would say, which is probably why I'm so into them, as I'm quite fond of a good essay, both reading them and writing them. And again, like the Manics with their lyrical approach, mini essays being put to music. So yeah, if anyone out there is a McCarthy fan, let me know what you think of this album, and if you're keen on discovering it, please let me know. McCarthy, I'm a Wallet. Okay, so now we're moving over to California. This is a group that I've mentioned on the channel before, very underrated, connections with the Paisley Underground, but taking more of a sort of a desert rock, psychedelic rock, should we say, slants to their music. I don't think they were quite as jingly jangly and harmony laden as a lot of the Paisley groups were, but they did have connections, and that band is Thin White Rope, and the record here is Moonhead. So there it is, Thin White Rope there with Moonhead. So yeah, ultra distinctive vocals by Guy Kaiser, very sort of growly and quite an aggressive tone, but then he can sing very tenderly as well. Great musicianship, kind of a dual guitar thing going on, quite akin to Television. Wouldn't be surprised if Television were an influence on Thin White Rope. It's just a plain inner in there, I think, on that one. Yeah, there's no lyric sheets or anything in there, just checking. So yeah, this is a really underrated album. I think it's a bit of a lost classic in my opinion. You know, that's just me, what I think of it. But I do come back to Thin White Rope as a band a lot, and this is a superb album. Favourite tracks, Not Your Fault. The opener is just absolutely fantastic. Great song. One of my favourite Thin White Rope songs of everything that they've done. Moonhead, the title track, is very good as well. That closes side one off. And then on side two, we've got Come Around is good. Crawl Piss Freeze, which closes the album, is strong as well. And If Those Tears. But again, another strong album throughout. I think we're going to see that a lot with the albums that I'm showing you. There may be some later on that I've got a bit of filler on, but it might just be that their overall quality, you know, the strong songs just elevate them to a high status. But yeah, these early albums I'm showing you here, I would say are pretty strong throughout, and certainly all have in common with creating and sustaining a very, very particular mood. So yeah, if that one's piqued your interest, Thin White Rope, Moonhead, do let me know. Okay. Right, back over to Scotland again. And yeah, again, another group that are very indie pop, twee pop, part of that C86 kind of thing, movement going on. They have had a very long career, very, very influential. Lots and lots of fans, I would say, from different musical universes. I don't think, you know, that they've only appealed to bands that play twee pop kind of music or indie pop. You know, this is very scuzzy, fuzzy, Ramones inspired stuff in places, but some great harmonies and things. I do think that they've branched a little further out. I think there's quite a few grunge groups who've been influenced by them as well. Maybe even some sort of more modern folk acts as well that are taking their cues from, you know, sort of early Teenage Fan Club. This band I'm going to show a few others as well. So yeah, they've got a really good reach. And that group I'm showing you here now are the Pastels, and this is called Up for a Bit. So this is from 1987. Great artwork there, that. Up for a Bit. With the Pastels, yeah. I just always call it Up for a Bit though, so. But yeah, so let's take it out. Led by Stephen Pastel. So yeah, more twee, there he is. More twee. Yeah, it looks very enigmatic on there. It's a great photograph of him, that, almost like a bit of a kind of a Syd Barrett look there to him, and in, you know, vaguely. People might disagree with that, but yeah, he looks very cool there on that. Yeah, so this one's got a little bit of tape on it, this one, on the inner. Up for a Bit with the Pastels. There we go. Got Bernice there, the drummer, who I believe was a big Cramps fan. So she's got a real, yeah, there she is, big, like, real rock steady beat to her playing. Yeah, the Pastels are Stephen, Brian, Martin, Bernice and Aggie. And Aggie's done the artwork here as well, yeah, the painting. Sleeve is designed by Stephen Pastel. So yeah, this is a great album. Really catchy melodies again. Just a really scuzzy sort of feel to it. I love the fact that Stephen Pastel sings in his Scottish accent as well. So yeah, favourites on here. Wow, it's really good. I think my favourite on the album is I'm Alright With You. I just love the immediacy of that. I'm alright with you. Really catchy tune. Just sticks in your head. That actually always does remind me of like a sort of a slowed down Ramones song, that one. Address Book is brilliant. Crawl Babies is probably one of the Pastels' most famous songs. Ride is a great opener. It's almost like a little bit of a mini epic, that one, like almost like a bit of a lysergic feel to it, but then it does kind of kick into life. It's got a bit of a you know, sort of an slightly orchestral arrangement to it as well, Ride, as it starts to progress. Baby Honey, If I Could Tell You, yeah, wow, there's some really great songs on this one, Up for a Bit with the Pastels. So yeah, I'm pleased to have that in my collection. they're just such a really, really good band to me. And I know, as I said, they've got many, many fans, and nothing better if you're in the mood for it. I'd say as well that quite a few of these albums have shown, certainly I think McCarthy, Pastels as well. Trying to think of it, yeah, no, maybe not so much the Sonic Youth one. Closed Lobsters, they're not all that long either. They come in at quite, quite good, decent, healthy run times as well. So they're not epic in length, but I have got some epics coming up. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that as well. Quite a few of these are short and sweet, and yeah, just a lovely little sugary fix of music, and then off it pops, and then you're ready to move on to what you want to put on next. Right. So after all that twee pop, all that confectionery, got something a little bit darker now. Very popular. This sounds brilliant. It's a big bold album, and yeah, powerful and very, very 80s. For me, it's quite synonymous with the 80s, and the cover art was in contention as well for my title card, although as you've seen, I went for something rather different. So yeah, band from Leeds. Are they goth, are they not? Not sure what the lead singer would say, but yeah, let's get into it. We've got Floodland here by the Sisters of Mercy. What an absolutely brilliant front cover that is. And that is definitely a case of, we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but with that cover, it does give you an idea of what you're about to listen to. It isn't sunshine pop, but not there's anything wrong with that at all. We're getting into a darker territory here. Got Andrew Eldritch there, who rocks shades like no other, and then we've got Patricia Morrison over here as well, kind of obscured there in shadow. So a very, very cool photo that. Look at it, brilliant. Very famous artwork. Right, so see if it's got the original inside it. So it's just the name of the band and the logo. That's it. Okay, so yeah, what to say about Sisters of Mercy? Great band, simple as that. Goth, post-punk, just a great way with a tune. Definitely utilise jangly guitars in their own way. Lots of chorus on the guitar effects, and they're not, they're rather partial to a brilliant arpeggiated riff. And there's a few of them on here. With Dominion being a great example of it. Dominion opens the album up. Love the guitar work on Dominion, superb. Mother Russia, excellent. Got Lucretia on here as well, Lucretia, My Reflection. It's a great song. Every single, this is so good. 1959, which was the year that Andrew Eldritch was born. That just sort of mixes the sound up a little bit, that one. A little bit more restrained in parts, 1959, which you'll love, with the positioning of it. And then following on from that, we get the big bombast of This Corrosion. Hey now, sing this corrosion to me. Just brilliant, which I believe was like some kind of, I think it was like some kind of a dig at Wayne Hussey, who'd been in the group prior. Again, I'm talking off the top of my head, but I think the lyrics were actually like some kind of a dig at him, or taking the piss or something. But again, if anybody's watching there, here who's got a lot more knowledge on that than me, then please do let me know if I'm right on that. I do think there's definitely a connection there that Eldritch was using the song to make some kind of point to his former bandmate who went on to be in the Mission. And then we've got Flood 1 and Flood 2 on here as well. But yeah, every song again, very strong, great album. One to listen to at night time, definitely. Not when the sun's out, but if you want something at moonlight and a nocturnal listen, I would call it. Then do go for the Sisters of Mercy with Floodland. Great album. Okay, right. So regarding this album here now that I'm going to show you, this record for me is pretty much just shot in to my top 25. And pretty highly as well, given that I only, I'm just thinking, it was only this year. Wow, I had to think then, was it last year? I only discovered this band and album this year, and it's already come in above the likes of, the Sisters and the Pastels and Close Lobsters and, all those other groups have shown that I've had a long connection with, Loop, etc. Sonic Youth. I mean, this album is just absolutely brilliant. And it was one of those where I mentioned it before as a description. Where has this album been my whole life? It was one of them. It was quite revelatory when I put it on. So it was recommended to me by a very, very dear friend of mine. She's a subscriber to this channel. She lives over in the US, and she recommended it to me. She was, becoming very, very acquainted and familiar with the type of music that I gravitate towards, and I was just blown away by this album from the first moment I heard it. I've continued to listen to it pretty much non-stop for a long time, since I discovered it earlier in the year. And then when I got the chance to, I acquired it on vinyl. Yeah, I'm just trying to think, maybe it was towards the end of last year. So maybe I'm coming up for a year with it now, to be fair. We're in September now at the time of this recording. But anyway, it's not been that long, put it that way, compared to some of these others have shown. I don't want to be waffling too much about how long I've been into it when I can't fully remember, but it hasn't been long. Okay, so this is a band from Germany, post-punk brilliance. So if you're into the likes of, the Bunnymen, the Sound, the Chameleons, Joy Division, all that brilliant stuff, and you don't know this band and you don't know this album, then please do check it out. And that band and album is Pink Turns Blue. That's the band, and the album title is If Two Worlds Kiss. I mean, that is a super distinctive album cover, so you're not going to miss that on the racks in your local record shop. So on the hype sticker here, it says here, official reissue of the debut album from German post-punk dark wave. Yeah, I should have mentioned dark wave as well. That's obviously another genre that can be applied to the Sisters of Mercy as well. Dark wave pioneers, Pink Turns Blue. Out of print since 1987. Includes lyrics, insert, and bonus track, A Moment Sometimes. So yeah, this has been out of print for a long, long time, and then I've managed to pick up this reissue here. And it is utterly superb. It is sang throughout in English. There's times where the vocals, just kind of, there is one song on here and his voice just literally becomes Ian McCulloch. It's quite strange how that's happened, because in other places you can clearly hear a Germanic tone to the singing, which I think really adds to the appeal of the songs as well, because there's such a mechanical kind of post-punky vibe to the tracks that the voice lends itself really well with its cadence and tone. So here we've got the inside to show you, and I think the group were formed in Cologne as well, in Germany. So there's a shot there of the band, and then we've got all the lyrics here on the back as well. So yeah, please do check this album out. Like I said, if you're into a lot of those early post-punk pioneers, those UK acts that I just listed before, I really don't think you're going to be disappointed with this if you don't know who Pink Turns Blue are. So yeah, the band name is taken from the song Pink Turns Blue by Husker Du, which appeared on their 1984 album Zen Arcade, but this does not sound anything like Husker Du. It doesn't. It's really full-on UK fashioned post-punk, The Cure, stuff like that. So I'll just pick a few favourites. So I Coldly Stare Out is the opening track. That was the one that hooked me immediately. The bass work on it is just amazing. I love the guitar parts all throughout the album, but the guitar playing on that is super restrained, really atmospheric, icy kind of feel to it. Love it. Walking on Both Sides is a bit of a rocker, which crops up on side A. But there is this beautiful Chameleons style track that closes side A called When It Rains. Beautiful, gorgeous song that. I love If Two Worlds Kiss, which is the title track, obviously. And When the Hammer Comes Down is a great song at the end as well. So yeah, Pink Turns Blue, If Two Worlds Kiss. I'm not overly sure how popular or how well known that album is, but my friend over in America knew about it, and she's got amazing music taste, and I'm so grateful to her that she made this recommendation to me, because I have really fallen for this album. I just think it's brilliant. So there you go. That's Pink Turns Blue with If Two Worlds Kiss. Okay. So now we're going over to, this was a band with origins roots in Boston, Massachusetts. We're getting very noisy here, very sludgy, slacker, noise rock, guitar greatness, just brilliant music, great power trio. Love this band so much, just they continue to blow me away. Whenever I go back to listening to them, I just always marvel again at just how great they were and are, and the music that they've laid down for the ages. They're just a phenomenal group in my opinion. And that is, here we've got Dinosaur Junior with You're Living All Over Me. And we're not even really getting into the higher echelons here of this 25, because I just think the competition is so stiff and fierce again this year. I'm showing you albums that, if for a lot of people these could be top 5 or even number 1, but it's so difficult ranking them. All I can tell you, everybody, is that my love for all of these albums is huge. It's just that decisions do need to get made. So just because they're a little bit lower down doesn't mean that I don't love them, and I have got them in the 25 when there was like over 50 to choose from. So okay, so that's my my explanation there for that. So just on the hype sticker here for Dinosaur Junior, it just says it's a reissue of the classic 1987 album with its original track list. So yeah, this is a reissue again. There's quite a few reissues actually in this pile. Right, yeah, there's nothing in that, it's just plain white inner. Okay, so yeah, we've got here Murph, drums, Lou Barlow on the bass, ukulele, tapes and vocals, and then we've got the one and the only Jay Mascis, who is just an absolute legend in my opinion. I just think he's so good. Guitars, vocals and percussion. So yeah, this is a truly great album, this one. If you're into your really noisy, full on just guitar heroics, great use of feedback and command of tone and pedals and fuzzy scuzzy goodness, I would say. Although the likes of the Pastels, etc., utilised some fuzz and things and did it on a brilliant indie pop level, this is sort of like the rocking older brother. This is heavier, it's really propulsive, great bass and drum sound on it. So favourite tracks, Little Fury Things, I have to mention right off the bat, it's just brilliant. Sludge Feast is just a great way to actually describe Dinosaur Junior. I think I did use the word sludgy before when I was doing my little preamble for them here just a little earlier. They are sludgy in the best possible way. In a Jar is an amazing song, but my favourite, I think, on the album, it's my favourite. Actually, it's so difficult. I do love The Lung. I was going to say The Lung, but do you know what? It might be In a Jar. Or Little Fury Things or In a Jar might be my two favourites on this one. But it is brilliant. If you want to, get into some ear-bleeding country territory, then please stick on Dinosaur Junior, You're Living All Over Me. Okay, right. So I very briefly mentioned this group before in reference to Pink Turns Blue. So there you go. Giving it away, huge clue. Formed in Minneapolis. This was their final album. It's a double album. It's huge. It's expansive. It's great. It's just a massive statement. This is a promo copy that I've got of it, and I am talking about here Husker Du, of course, with the Pink Turns Blue reference before. We've got Warehouse Songs and Stories by Husker Du. What an absolutely beautiful front cover that is there. Just look at the lighting there, the way that they've done that with the columns there, the pillars. It's just a gorgeous photograph, that. Just the way it's been colorized there like that. And then we've got this gorgeous sort of psychedelic swirly patterns here on the back. These sort of split up here into the 4, and then we've got there a picture of the band. So we've got Grant Hart, Bob Mould in the middle there, and then Greg Norton over there. Yeah, so this was a great album for Husker Du to bow out on. You've just got a lot of songwriting here, a lot, because it's you've got your two songwriters in Grant and Bob going at it. I don't think relations in the band at this point were particularly strong. I think this was certainly a fractured group at this stage, or certainly on the way to becoming fractured. And I think the story behind the album was that every time Bob wanted to do write a song and have that be the last one, or I think they couldn't really agree on a final track listing, then Grant would write one back and then Bob would write one back in response to that. So you end up here with this like massive album with gosh, how many is it? 20, I think, that are on it. Yeah, it's about 20 odd or something, isn't it? not going to just say count them all there for you, but it's big. So yeah, we've got the original inners on here as well. So just hold these up for you. And I think it's quite an equal split as well, in terms of the songwriting, or certainly more equal than it had ever been before. I think it tended to be that Bob Mould had more songs on albums than Grant did, but I think maybe it had gone to a stage where Grant was just thinking of, I want maybe a little bit more, not control, but maybe exposure in the group. Again, I'm not 100% sure of all the inner workings of it. I'm only going off things off the top of my head that, I've read and maybe seen on the odd documentary, but there's two sides to every story. But all I can say, focusing on the positives, is that Husker Du were and are, in terms of, obviously they're no longer here, as an active band, and obviously now Grant Hart very sadly passed away. But we've got just a wonderful, wonderful band here. The legacy that they've left is just beyond any question. They've influenced so many bands, brilliant bands at that as well, who've gone on to have great careers. Just set a blueprint really for how hardcore rock should be done. And then they crossed over later on into more commercial terrain, college rock, power pop, indie, just brilliant music. So favourites on here, there's so many great ones, because as well, given how big the album is, I think it's rather consistent. So Could You Be the One is my favourite on the album. That's just power pop brilliance. That's a Bob Mould song. I also love Ice Cold Ice as well. We've got on here Charity, Chastity, Prudence and Hope, which is track 2. Further on, let me see what else I like on here. She Floated Away, Bed of Nails are both very good. Turn It Around, Standing in the Rain, so good. Too Much Spice is okay as well. It's actually quite good. And then towards the end, Up in the Air, and then it finishes with You Can Live at Home. So I know I named it a lot more than 3. I've probably done that on a few albums now, but because there's so many songs on it, it's pretty difficult to only name 3 there when you've got a big double album to be looking at. So yeah, Husker Du, final album by them, 1987, Warehouse Songs and Stories. Right, so I've got another double album here now. So I do rank this a little bit above Husker. These are one of my favourite bands ever, so that went in its favour, but also just because the quality of the music is so great. I mean, Husker are a band I love to bits as well, but I just absolutely adore this band, and I do think this is definitely one of their top 10 best albums. So it's their poppier side, it's their, for me, is it happier side. It's certainly got some gorgeously uplifting melodies on there. It's not maybe quite as dark, certainly not as dark and gothic as other albums, but there is a lightness to it, which I do appreciate when I'm in the mood for it. So we've now got here Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me by The Cure. So another double album. That eyeball there on the back. There we go. And the big lips there on the front. So yeah, this is The Cure at I'd say their kaleidoscopic best, really. I mean, they're branching out over a double album, so it's a great opportunity for them to just express themselves, their sound. This is just Robert Smith and the band maybe cutting loose to an extent, just doing the thing, and just an absolute plethora of ideas, and getting it out there on a double. And, at this stage, big reputation as a band. They'd already produced and created some stunning songs by this stage in their career. And this record has got some absolute smashers on it, bangers on it. I mean, Just Like Heaven, I have to name straight off the bat. It's one of my favourite ever Cure songs, and it is certainly my favourite on this album. And just interestingly, if you've never heard it before, because I was talking about Dinosaur Junior a little earlier, they did a cover of Just Like Heaven, and yeah, if you've never heard it, check it out, let me know what you think of it. It's quite something. And I think actually Robert Smith himself has commented on the Dinosaur Junior cover and said it's, I think it's his favourite ever cover of one of his own songs. So there you go. It's been endorsed by Robert himself. Okay, so let's get back to favourite tracks. Hot, 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 love it. Icing Sugar is great as well. Do enjoy that one. Um, let me see, it's difficult that. Yeah, just like so. I think on that disc there, record. Yeah, just like heaven. Oh, all I want as well. Yeah, hot, hot, hot. Yeah, icing sugar. So, and then I would say, oh yeah, why can't I be you? Pure pop brilliance. That just so good. Just the way it closes off. You're simply elegant. Love the words of that. You're so gorgeous. I'll do anything. I'll kiss you from your feet to where your head begins. It's brilliant. Great start. The Snake Pit is excellent as well. Actually, yeah. Catch, of course, Catch. Great song. Yeah, some really brilliant songs on here, which is why, it's in. The band at the time as well, Robert Smith, Simon Gallup, Pearl Thompson, but Paul Thompson here credited as Paul, but Pearl Thompson now, Lawrence Tolhurst and Boris Williams. So, yeah, a really great lineup there. The Cure as well. So, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. Superb double album for 1987. So a couple of double albums there back to back to show you, which was really nice. I'd be interested if anybody wants to mention in the comments, in the battle of the doubles there, do they prefer the Cure double album there, or do they prefer Husker Du, or is it just a case of them both being as great as the other, but maybe it just depends on mood and feel and that sort of thing. But yeah, everybody's got the favourites, so that one for me just ranks a little bit higher than Husker, but all great stuff. Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me by The Cure. It's a big album, it's a long album, but very, very enjoyable. Okay, right, so we're going back here now to Scotland again. So Scotland's had a great show for 1987, which is brilliant to see. East Kilbride to be exact, and this record for me represents a kind of a parting of the clouds. So what I mean by that is, they had this incendiary debut, very powerful feedback squall all over the shop. One of my favourite albums of the 1980s, just as a little spoiler. But these beautiful melodies underneath all of that noise, the wall of noise. And this for me is like a record that strips all that noise away. So there's a lot more of a commercial sound to it. It's a lot more engaging. It's definitely got the ability to be more appealing because it's stripped away so much of that squall, but the melodies are still there and they're still really strong, which makes it an engaging and a great follow-up album. So I am talking here of Darklands by the Jesus and Mary Chain. So this is the follow-up to Psycho Candy, which is that album I was just waxing lyrical about. An absolutely stunning debut album. Very, very important in the history of music, in my opinion. But this is excellent. This continues to show the Reed brothers' songwriting brilliance and craft. But all they've done is they've just tinkered that sound, because I'm sure that they thought to themselves that, were they going to continue to keep utilising the feedback and noise in the way that they were doing? Or did they want to start embracing a different approach? And I think that is exactly what they did. And I think it's very much to the credit of the band that they chose to do that. I think when it comes to sonic experimentation, there's only a handful of times that maybe you can do it, or maybe it is just the one time. And once you've made that statement, you then need to move on and grow, develop, and do something else. And that's what I felt that the Mary Chain did. So let's get into favourite songs. Released on Blanco y Negro. I've got to say right off the bat, side 2, track 1 would be April Skies. Brilliant song, great single. Still love it to this day. Love it whenever I hear it. Love Jim Reed, the voice on it. The band sound great. Guitar playing, by William and Jim, superb. Happy When It Rains on side 1 is excellent as well. Darklands is a great opener with its do 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 refrain on there, which is a bit sort of reminiscent of Lou Reed. 9 Million Rainy Days. So there's a bit of a kind of a rainy feel to this album. A little bit of a recurring theme, but it just works so well for the coolness of the Mary Chain and their whole sort of look and everything that they represented. So yeah, such an influential band. Went on to inspire so many groups, that popped up in the 90s and the early 2000s as well. On the Wall is great, Cherry Cane too. So yeah, I can't speak highly enough of the Mary Chain, and I do really love the album Darklands. So delighted to have that there for 1987. So yeah, very, very easy pick, that one. It was just a case of where it was going to be ranked. Okay, there we go. Right, so we're moving over now to Australia, to Brisbane, where this band were formed, and this group, I've mentioned them a number of times on the channel before. This is definitely one of their most consistent albums. I mean, I think all of their albums are really strong anyway, and I just think that their two songwriters are just unbelievable talents. Sadly, one of them is no longer with us, but this is just a great album from '87. So if you're into your very sort of literary, almost art rock, art pop, with a bit of jangle to it as well, you know, just courtesy of the guitars, lyrics that are going to make you think and scratch your chin a bit, and you know, just really make you listen, then please do check out here Tallulah by the Go-Betweens. So this is a band that I've mentioned a number of times now. They're just so good, really good. So at this stage of proceedings in the Go-Betweens, we've got Amanda Brown now, who's joined the Go-Betweens. Up until this point, for a few albums, it had been Lindy Morrison here, Grant McLennan, Robert Forster, who can't help but always look cool, no matter what guise or haircut he's got or whatever clothes he's wearing. That guy just always looks cool. He can just carry off so many different looks. He's a bit chameleonic in that way. And then Robert Vickers over here in the hat. So yeah, love that front cover as well, and love how great those shoes are there as well, the slippers. There we go. Right, so let's get into these tracks then. Let's talk a little bit about Tallulah. So be interested for you Go-Betweens fans out there. I know there's a few of you that watch, where you rank Tallulah. Sir Grant there sporting a shiner. There we go. But yeah, there's Amanda. Lovely photograph. All of them there. Lindy. Yeah, just a really great looking band, them. They can play brilliantly as well. But yeah, I'll be interested to know from Go-Betweens fans who are tuning in, whether you're regular viewers or new to the channel, you know, where would you rank Tallulah? You know, is it one for you that's your favourite, or is it one that you drank a little bit lower? I just think there's so many great songs on here. I just think that Grant and Robert, from a songwriting point of view, are just absolutely smashing it out of the park. So it's going to be very hard to only pick three. And I think with them being two writers as well. So let's have a look. So right here, Bye Bye Pride. Wow, yeah. The House That Jack Kerouac Built. Love that. Cut It Out. Gosh, yeah. Oh, the Clark Sisters. Wow. Oh, what a song, the Clark Sisters, yeah. Bye Bye Pride. I've said that one before, but oh, yeah, wow. Do you know, that is such a strong album, that. Every single song on that is superb. It's just such a special group, the Go-Betweens. Real one-off. Definitely one of Australia's greatest ever bands. I mean, arguably the greatest, to be honest, but, you know, they've got a lot of competition for that title, but very special group. You know, I'm always going to be grateful to my dear friend Phil, who does watch the channel, many years ago, introducing me to the Go-Betweens. Definitely, you know, one of the greatest recommendations of a band I've ever had. And Tallulah is a really superb album. Yeah, got Spirit of a Vampire as well. Yeah. It's like a little piece in there as well with that. Yeah, just the flow of that record. So good. Yeah, brilliant that. Tallulah, Go-Betweens. Just really catchy, really catchy alternative pop music. Again, lyrics, melodies that get stuck in your head. Certainly, a song like Bye Bye Pride, that's got some, you know, commerciality to it. Right here as well. Beautiful opener that. Gets you set for the tone ahead. There we go, Go-Betweens. Right. Moving on. So we've got a group here now that, again, hold in extremely high esteem. This for me felt like an album where they branched out a little bit sonically. They certainly retained the, you know, the DNA of their band that they built the reputation on up until this point. but they had a very, very interesting producer on this record, very interesting indeed, actually. And as a result, they produced for me one of their best ever songs that sounds very much in keeping with the sound that the producer became famous for. So that was a bit wordy, but I hope you got what I was trying to say there. But yeah, the band in question here is the Gun Club, and the album here is Mother Juno. This is a great, great album, and I know I keep saying it, but they are great artwork as well. Yeah, it's really, really full on painting that there. Got the driver here, and got the bottle on the back seat, and person crying, and yeah, a lot going on there. Driving through the desert by the look of it. Got the cat's eye here. So yeah, and then we've got these sort of pop art styled portraits here of the group. Here we go. And that's Jeffrey Lee Pierce over here, the leader of the Gun Club. And there's his old pal there, Kid Congo Powers. So yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, I mean, the Gun Club for me are a consistently excellent group, but I do feel this one is unusual. So that producer that I was telling you about was indeed Robin Guthrie from the Cocktail Twins. So he ended up sprinkling his magic on the Gun Club, and as a result created a sound that in places it does sound reminiscent of the Cocktail Twins. Certainly the song The Breaking Hands, which is the track that I was just talking about earlier, that for me is one of my favourite ever favourite ever Gun Club songs, but it does sound like the Cocktail Twins with Jeffrey Lee Pierce singing. And the only things that kind of make it so with the Gun Club that is it's got that distinctive slide blues guitar in it, which the Gun Club were famous for, and obviously Jeffrey Lee Pierce's utterly distinctive lyrics, lyrics and voice, which you couldn't really confuse with anybody else. So The Breaking Hands is gorgeous. It's got like that kind of Cocktails bell-like cathedral sort of quality to it. Bill Bailey is a great rocker. That's the opener. I absolutely love Yellow Eyes as well. That's just got a great sort of slinky feel and vibe to it. That one, it's like a bit of a jam, that one, but really, really good. Port of Souls actually is a great closer as well, but again, Araby as well. Thunderhead, that's another good rocker. So yeah, this is just another one that if you're into some really cool guitar music with a bit of a bluesy edge, if you like the idea of seeing the worlds of blues, a bit of cowpunk in there, but that was more evident on earlier Gun Club records, and that fusing with this sort of gothic, sort of cavernous cathedral type sound of a group like the Cocktail Twins. I mean, even if you just wanted to check it out as an experiment, then please do listen to Mother Juno. It's brilliant. What I would recommend with that one, if it has piqued your interest, is just listen to The Breaking Hands and Yellow Eyes in isolation. If you enjoy those two, then I would encourage you then to check out the rest of the album. So yeah, The Gun Club with Mother Juno, brilliant album from a brilliant band. Okay, right, so now we're back over to Australia again. And this for me is just what I would describe as just perfect pop music. Very, very commercial, massively successful. I love every track on it. I really do. It's just super consistent throughout. I put it on when I just feel like having a bit of a boogie. Again, goes back to me being a lot younger. I'm pretty sure my sisters would have had this album or would have been playing it. I know that they were quite, that they were quite fond of the lead singer. Let's put it that way. My two sisters. So, as I'm sure a lot of people were back in the day. So I am talking about In Excess and the album Kick, and there is the lead singer, of course, Michael Hutchence. So yeah, this is just brilliant 80s pop music. It really, really is. Let's get the gatefold in here for you. There we go. I love every track on it. I do. I'll give you my favourites, but I do. It's just really strong. I think it's an album that I just don't know how anyone. Well, I mean, I'm sure there'll be people out there that that don't like it or don't really rate it, and that's completely fair and completely justified. But for me, really, I just don't know how someone couldn't at least like a few on it, but we're different strokes for different folks, isn't it? I love the album. That's why I've got it so high. I mean, I think this is just outside my top 10. So we are making our way through these records. So there you go. There's the inner. So yeah, musically, we got a bit of funk, like it's sort of funk, like light funk pop, soul influences on here as well. A little bit of new wave, I suppose, in here. Guitar music. Produced by Chris Thomas, so it sounds great. Mixed by Bob Clear Mountain. So yeah, let's get to these favourites. So my favourite is Never Tear Us Apart. That is my favourite on the album. It's just a great ballad. I love Michael Hutchence's performance on it. It just sounds brilliant. Love the sax break towards the end. It just sticks in your head. It's got this lovely, almost like a bit of a 50s doo-wop melody to it, actually, in how it's been composed, but it doesn't sound that way. It's kind of an updated, very cool version for the 1980s. I have to mention Mystify because I've got a lot of affection for Mystify because I actually used to cover that in a band that I played in many years ago. So I do have to give Mystify a shout out. I've just got fond memories of covering it. Needy Tonight, just a classic, great guitar riff in there. Super little funky riff. Something I think Prince would have been proud of coming up with that. New Sensation, again, just infectious, 80s guitar music. Devil Inside, yeah, Tiny Daggers at the end. The Loved One is super as well. That's almost got like a bit of a sort of a throwback sound to it as well, but again, updated for the 80s market. So yeah, just very slick, very polished 80s pop there from Australia. A world beater, that one Kick did excellently, of course, sold by bucket loads and big hits off it. So brilliant work there by the band, and a very good album that I'm very fond of. Okay, right, so moving on, we're going back now to the UK, and this is a band from Basildon, and usually whenever I mention Basildon, most people guess who I'm talking about. So this is another band who could do polished very well. Went on to arenas and stadium domination, global success. Wonderful group. Always continued to move and progress. Always continued to push the envelope lyrically, thematically. Just an absolutely endless supply of melodies and tunes. I mean, this band, they don't half know how to write a melody. And given that they had Vince Clarke in the ranks at the very beginning, who is like Mr. Melody, he's just a genius, and then losing him and then continuing to do what they did, astonishing bands. So we've got here Music for the Masses by the one and only Depeche Mode, and I think we're up to number 10. This is number 10 now, this one, so we are moving through, we're getting into the top 10. So yeah, Depeche Mode, Music for the Masses, what an album, what a band, love it. Yeah, I've got the sheet in here. There we go. It's got some of my favourite Depeche Mode songs on here, this one. So it's very strong, hence it being so high up. It's fought off a lot of competition here to be where it is. And these, again, when you're getting into your top 10, these can fluctuate at any given time. So let's get into it. Never Let Me Down Again. Wow, that's a tune. But my favourite on here is Strange Love. It's just awesome. Dave Gahan's voice on it, the chorus, the words of it, it sounds fantastic. I love Strange Love, like definitely in my top tier of favourite Depeche Mode songs. Behind the Wheel, I Want You Now, To Having to Hold, Wow, Nothing, these are all so good. Sacred, The Things You Said. Yeah, I've just pretty much named the entire album there, haven't I? I'm cheating, I'm breaking my own rules here, everybody. I'm sorry about that, but yeah, these are just, we're getting into the premiere. Well, these are all great, but for me, of 87, these are the premiere titles, aren't they now? In the top 10. So yeah, Music for the Masses by Depeche Mode, a band that always amazed me. I just love listening to them whenever I'm in the mood for them. There's just nothing better. So there we go. That's that one. Okay. So now we're going to a group here with a mixture of British and US members. So this was a band that had its roots way back in the 1960s. So dropping some massive clues here now. Started out very much in one guise as like a blues group, transitioned, through the acquisition of two, in particular, three very key members, although one of them had joined prior to what I would say, the complete shift. It was the two Americans that came in, and they just completely changed the game, set the bar to an incredible standard. And really, although this band have got one name, they have been, in my opinion, two very distinct bands. This here was a huge return to form, in my opinion, for 1987. They'd released some classic records already up until this stage of the career, but boy did they come back with a bang in 87, and they truly meant business. So this is an album that takes you back to being a kid. I listened to this thing non-stop when I was a child. We had a copy of it on cassette, and I think I must have worn the thing out, hence it being here for number 9. So I am, of course, talking about Fleetwood Mac, and the record is Tango in the Night. This was just a commercial monster, this one. It was massive. Big songs on it. It just sounds great. The band on it are just superb. The songwriting is fantastic throughout. More great pop music here. Very polished, of course. Great commercial appeal to it, but these songs are just undeniably great. Lindsey Buckingham, one of my guitar heroes, is wonderful on it. As is Stevie Nicks, Christine McVie, John McVie, Mick Fleetwood. They're all pulling in the right direction. They just sound unified. They sound energized. This is just them in their 80s pomp for me. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so favourite tracks. Side 1 in particular is incredibly strong. I mean, side 2 is no slouch either, but side 1, these are my favourites. Big Love. Lindsey Buckingham takes lead vocal on that. Brilliant. Although his acoustic versions of that, whenever he plays it live, are just mind-meltingly amazing. If he's like playing like 3 guitar parts at once, he's just an absolute genius, that guy on the guitar. Big Love. But I do love the studio version here. Seven Wonders is wonderful. Everywhere. One of Christine McVie's very best songs. Beautiful little synth riff melody in there that pops up on countless other songs, and it's been sampled, and Everywhere is just one of those tunes that seems to get used over and over again. It is everywhere. Everywhere by Name, Everywhere by Nature. And then I would say on side 2 again, one of Christine's very best, Little Lies. Great song, very catchy, great work. Family Man, I've always been a fan of Family Man. It's another one that Buckingham takes the lead on. When I See You Again, this is just Welcome to the Room, Sarah, as well. I have to mention that one. Superb album, that. A giant of a record. Brilliant. I still love it to this day. Very happy to have it. Tango in the Night by Fleetwood Mac. Okay. Right. So now we are, we're back now with a duo. Synth pop brilliance. Definitely spoke about these two on the channel before, because they are legends. And again, I've definitely got my sisters to thank for getting me into this group as well, especially Kelly, who's my eldest sister, but the younger of the two sisters I've got. She adored this band. She still adores them to this day. So, huge credit to Kelly for getting me into them. I am talking, of course, about the Pet Shop Boys with Actually. And this cover here is a great example of how you can, in a very minimal style, create a cover that is just utterly brilliant, in that, it tells a story, or does it? Why is he yawning? It's had like virtually no money spent on it. I mean, they've got a pair of very nice looking tuxes on, but it's not this big sort of grand project, where there's art adorning everything. It's very minimalist there. And, I've seen that pose being sort of copied and parodied and done in tribute, because it's just genius, which I suppose, stretches to Tennant and Lowe themselves. I just love that cover. Instantly memorable, does the job. Yeah, great. And it's just so minimalist as well. So, Actually by Pet Shop Boys, great album. So there they are there. Neil and Chris, there we go. So synth pop greatness, one of Britain's best, or arguably the best synth pop duo. I think these guys can just write melodies and songs in the sleep. To be honest, I think they just they just have the gift. So favourites on here. What have I done to deserve this is an immediate mention. That fantastic duet that they did with Dusty Springfield is just amazing. Love that song. Rent is great as well. Absolutely brilliant. I've always loved the melody and the lyrics of Rent. One More Chance is a very good opener, and then on side 2, which is very strong as well, we've got It Couldn't Happen Here. We've got the legendary It's a Sin, which is a song that lyrically documents Neil Tennant's relationship with his father. And then we get Heart on here as well. So, my heart starts missing a beat every time. It's just great pop music, contagious, catchy, in the best possible way. Melodies to remember forever, and an album to keep coming back to over and over again. There we go, Pet Shop Boys with Actually. Okay, right. Been really looking forward to talking about this one. So, big spoiler ahead. We're up to the album now where I picked the cover for my title card. So this was released on Reception Records. This was a band that were formed in Leeds. This again has got shades, similarities to the sort of the fuzzy indie pop, scuzzy kind of, extremely fast drummy guitars in this band, by the way. Kind of in keeping with what I was showing before, the likes of the Pastels and that sort of stuff, Close Lobsters. I wouldn't be surprised if people who were into those sort of groups were not massive fans of this group. So I am, of course, talking about this wonderful album from 1987. It is George Best by The Wedding Present. And obviously being a die-hard Man United fan as I am, I have to be completely and utterly in full support of that majestic photograph of one of my club's greatest ever players, if not the greatest, arguably, simply the best, certainly one of the best players of his generation. Wonderful talent from Belfast, just an unbelievable player, pop star. He was like a Beatle really in the footballing world, but I do digress. Let's get on to the music. So there we go. George Best is the is the iconic artwork there, the name of the album. But The Wedding Present are a wonderful band. David Gedge, he is some songwriter. Again, I would put him up there with amongst Britain's best in his lyrical wordplay. Just things he writes about, up there with the likes of Morrissey for me. As good as, really, just the way that he looks at the world and the way that he can almost sort of analyze under the microscope the minutiae of everyday life, and then write these beautiful pop gems, ditties about them, indie ditties. So yeah, we've got a Peter there, who's the guitar player, wasn't he? Peter Slotker, I think it was pronounced. And we got Keith there, Sean, and David Gedge there. Nice big smile there he is. Sean on drums, and then there's Keith on the bass there. Right, so favourite tracks. So yeah, just before I get into them, so like I mentioned, if you're not familiar with The Wedding Present, this is the place to start. This is the album to start off with, and if you love this, then the chances are you're going to get into everything else, because they had some career, they've produced some amazing albums, but start with this one. Be ready for, great lyrics, but David Gedge's voice is somebody who always sounds like he's on the verge of shouting. And, I'm feeling in a rather daft mood at the moment, and that is in tribute to one of the tracks I'll talk about in a minute. So I've not done an impression for a while on the channel. So just for a bit of fun, because I am feeling a bit daft, I'll do you an impression of David Gedge. So his voice always sounds like he's on the verge of having a good old shout. It's very growly, but it's also very, very endearing, and it suits the lyrical themes of his work extremely well. So I would say that my rating of my own impression is a good 1.9 out of 5. That might be a bit generous, but I'll just sing a little bit of the song here, Everyone Thinks He Looks Daft, which is the opening track on the album. Can't believe I'm going to do this, but it's a bit of fun. So this is what I feel in my head David Gedge sounds like. So I'll just sing a little bit of that track. So it kind of goes, he goes a little bit like this. So it's like, Everyone thinks he looks daft, but you can have your dream. So he's just got this really, really distinctive voice. That is how I think he sounds to me anyway. And I'll give that a 1.9 out of 5. I'll be generous to myself there, doing that on camera like that to you also. A bit of fun. But that's how I think he sounds. And he's just got a really great style to him. His guitar playing is just super, super fast. I think I've talked about it before. I don't know how on earth they don't break the strings every couple of seconds, because these guys can really play very, very quick strumming. Great work on the rhythm guitar. Okay, so everyone thinks he looks daft. Brilliant song. Don't let my impression put you off. Go and listen to it. It's a lot of fun. Brilliant tune. And these titles as well are so good. What Did You Last Serve and Die Of is one of my favourites as well. It's What You Want That Matters. Anyone can make a mistake. Maybe I just did doing that impression there, recorded there forever in a day, but there you go, I did it. You Can't Moan, Can You? Closes the album off. Shatner is a great track on there as well. Oh yeah, of course, I've got to mention My Favourite Dress, which closes side 1. So yeah, the Wedding Present immediately was going in the top 25 again. It was just a case of where it was gonna feature, but definitely in the top 10 without any shadow of a doubt. That was well in there. So there you go. That's George Best by The Wedding Present. Really great band. If anyone watching isn't familiar with them, please do go and check them out. Okay, is that going to go in, that one? Let's see if it does. Come on. No, I don't think that's having it. Right, put that away later on. Okay. So, what are we over to now? Right. So this is another group in the UK. They were formed in Rugby, in Warwickshire. And of the groups that I've talked about prior to this point, these have a lot in common, or rather they, you could say the other way, that the Loop, who I'm talking about, have a lot in common with this band, in that they're both very psychedelic, space rock, drone pop, brilliant stuff. As much as I love the Loop album, I do think this album is considerably better. This is really high up. This is this is number 6, so it's literally just knocking on the door of being in the top 5. So can't get any fairer than that. Another album that was on Fire Records. We've got here Spacemen 3 with The Perfect Prescription. Brilliant space rock album. Love it. So like Loop, it's a great example of a record that creates a mood, a tone, executes it perfectly, sustains it over its running time, keeps the listener hooked, engaged. Great sonic soundscapes in there, great use of guitar and pedals and fuzz and rhythm and everything. It's just absolutely brilliant, this album. And very cool looking group as well. So got there on the front there, got Jason Pierce. This is prior to him, going off to form Spiritualized. And then we've got Sonic Boom here as well. Okay, so let's have a look inside. Just got another picture there of the group. Spacemen 3. And I think this is their second studio album. I think Sound of Confusion was the first one. I do have that on vinyl as well. But Sound of Confusion did not make it in Summer 25 for that year that it was brought out, but this one most certainly did. Okay, so let's see if we can get that in there. Okay, so let's look at these favourite tracks then. So Take Me to the Other Side is brilliant opener. Does what an opener does, as I mentioned before, sets the scene. Whenever I listen to that now, I always think of Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, who were a group that I was well into, still am, but when they came out in the early 2000s, I was well into them. And I could just tell immediately that the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club were taking cues from Spacemen 3. I mean, if you listened to Take Me to the Other Side, you could even think it was a Black Rebels track. So obviously Spacemen 3 were there way before them. So I do think that the Black Rebels were looking to Spacemen 3 and this album for some inspiration. Walking with Jesus is great, which again, that sounds like a Black Rebels song, Walking with Jesus, but clearly this is where they were looking to, along with other groups as well. I'm sure that they were getting inspired by stuff that Spacemen 3 were inspired by as well, the likes of the Stooges, etc. One of my favourites on here, it does have Ode to Street Hassle on here, which, utilises, the iconic riff from Street Hassle by Lou Reed, and then just builds, a song around it. But it's played on guitar rather than on cello, which I think it was originally on the Lou Reed number. Ecstasy Symphony just sounds as blissed out as the name would suggest. And another one on here that I absolutely love, is a Transparent Radiation. That's a real sort of like a transcending track. That one, it is it's like a very sort of euphoric up kind of a track, in my opinion. So I think as well, like if there's people who are into the sort of the Screamadelica era of Primal Scream and groups like that, if you're looking for something a bit sort of blissed out, a bit hazy, a bit drony, if you're into the likes of your Velvet Underground and the Stooges and stuff like that, maybe even some of the Doors as well at the more experimental, I really do think you'd love Spacemen 3. And Come Down Easy, I want to mention off side 2 as well, is excellent. So there we go, we've got The Perfect Prescription by Spacemen 3. So that was at number 6. So knocking on the door there of the top 5, but just missing out there by the smallest of margins. Okay, right, so we're into the top 5 now. So at this stage of proceedings, I just want to say, if you're still with me and you've been watching along up until this point and listening to me talking about all these records in this detail, thank you very, very much indeed for being here. I hugely appreciate it, and it really means a lot to me to have your time and attention. So let's get into the top 5. Okay, so we're back in Australia again for this next act. So Australia have had a great showing in this year, with the likes of In Excess and the Go-Betweens as well. So this group here, love them, brilliant, great songwriting. The lyrics throughout this band's career have always really beguiled me and captured my interest and my attention. So, and they just sound brilliant. They're a group that, because of the sound they've got, almost kind of similar to a group like Tindersticks, because there's so many instruments in the mix that they can maybe appeal to different fans of different areas of rock music. This is a band who could as much appeal to an indie old person as maybe somebody who's into chamber pop or country rock or baroque pop. So they're very multifaceted in that way. So the band I'm talking about is the Triffids, and the album there is Calenture, and this is my number 5 for 1987. So Calenture, here we get a definition of the word for anybody who's not sure. So Calenture is tropical fever or delirium suffered by sailors after long periods away from land, who imagine the seas to be green fields and desire to leap into them. So that's where that comes from, and that is there David McComb, the leader of the Triffids, there on the front cover, and then we've got some portraits there of the group on the back. So we've got Jill Burt, David McComb, Alcy MacDonald on the drums, got Evil Graham Lee, pedal steel slide guitar. That is Martin Casey, I think, there, isn't it? I think so. And then we've got Robert McComb there as well. I think that's Martin Casey, isn't it? On the bass. Just make sure I'm not giving you duff information. Yes, it is. Of course it is. It's Martin Casey. I always check these things because I'm, talk off the top of my head. So, yeah. That picture threw me a bit because of the shades and that. I thought it doesn't, it sort of looks like him, but it's clearly him, but it just threw me there in the moment. Okay, so I'll show you the inside as well. And that was obviously before he went off to, Martin Casey went off to play with Nick Cave, the Bad Seeds as well. So there's the lyrics, getting a little bit spotted there, a little bit of age wear there. But the record itself is in brilliant condition, given how many times I've played it over the years. And I've got my dear friend again, Phil, to thank for getting me into the Triffids, as he did with the Go-Betweens. So he introduced me to a lot of fantastic Australian guitar bands, including The Church as well. Okay, so let's get back to the Triffids. So, yeah, as I've already mentioned, multifaceted sounds, so I won't labour that point again. I would just encourage you just to please go and check them out. If you're into tuneful melodic rock music, then do check out the Triffids. So it's again produced by Gil Norton, who I've mentioned before on the channel. You know, went on to produce Pixies and other big bands. He's a brilliant producer. So this has got a great sound to it. So favourite songs: "Bury Me Deep in Love," one of my favourite Triffid songs. This is a great opener for the album. Kelly's Blues is superb. I love A Trick of the Light. That might even be my favourite on the album now. So that would be a song I'd ask you to go away and listen to, just to check out the Triffids in isolation. If you need an introduction, A Trick of the Light, very catchy, great singing, great lyrics, just a perfect single for me, that one. Open for You closes side one, and then we've got this really brilliant tale on side two of the Jeddah Man, which is talking about this figure, you know, in the museum. He's like this sort of, well, he's the Jeddah Man, and he's recounting his story. So I won't say too much about that, because it's just a really hypnotic and a really engaging tale, the way that David McComb writes it from the perspective of the Jeddah Man. Calenture as well, the title track is excellent. And I'll just mention one more. Yeah, I love the vibe of Holy Water. That's like a bit of a slightly kind of more up-tempo track, that one, Holy Water. But the whole album is so strong throughout, which is why it's here for number 5 in my ranking for 1987. There we go, the Triffids. Please do check that album out if you don't know who they are. If you do, let me know how you would rank it within their discography and within the year 1987. Okay, so let's get to number 4. So this band makes an appearance again, which I'm delighted to say, because they're one of my all-time favourites. I've done a album ranking video on this band, so if you haven't watched that, I would encourage you to please, you know, go and find that video if you're interested in learning more about this band and giving it a watch, because I do go into a lot of detail over an hour just on that band and that band alone, and rank all their studio albums. But number 4 for 1987, coming all the way from Waterorton in the West Midlands in Warwickshire, we've got Felt. Again, we've got Felt here with Poem of the River. So obviously I won't mention to you where I rank this album within Felt's discography, but what I will say is I rank it as number 4 for 1987. So this is just a lovely album. It's quite short and sweet. At this point, we've got Martin Duffy in the band on organ and keyboards. So Maurice Deebank, the guitarist, had long left by this stage. It's from 1987. So this is on Creation Records, and I picked this copy up. It's an original copy. Picked it up over in Germany, and I was so pleased to get it. Just love that cover as well, because it's so enigmatic, which is in keeping with the band. Gonna guess, I think that might be Lawrence there, I think, who's the leader of Felt. So favourite tracks: She Lives by the Castle is my undisputed favourite. Gorgeous song, beautiful. Please go and listen to that one as well. I mean, I'm giving a lot of pleases, aren't I, on this video? But yeah, She Lives by the Castle by Felt, achingly beautiful. The lyrics, Lawrence's voice, the pleading in there, the acoustic guitar work, the gorgeous outro on the organ by Martin Duffy, a perfect Felt song, really. Just very bittersweet, just a beautiful song. Declaration, you know, is a little bit of, you know, that's just a very brief scene setter for the record, that one, Declaration. But then other favourites, Riding on the Equator is amazing, and Stained Glass Windows in the Sky as well. I love every song on it, but those are my key favourites. So yeah, if you want to find out a bit more about what I think of that album, then please do check out my Felt album ranking video. So there's number 4 for 1987. Lovely album, that one, Poem of the River by Felt. Okay. Right. Excuse me. Right, number 3. So we've got an artist here who I think in a lot of ways came to really embody or symbolise 1987. I feel like that this was this person's year, just seemingly came out of nowhere and shook things up, shall we say, with a really assured, confident debut album, pretty audacious actually, in places, massively ambitious, and had a sweep and a grandeur to it, which I think was very much in keeping with this person's clearly phenomenal talent, but also, should we say, their own self-assuredness as well. But yeah, this was easily my number 3 for 1987, and I think as soon as I show it, this will be taking a lot of people back to that time, certainly if they were around. I was only 5 years old at this time, but my brother was a huge fan of this album. He definitely owned a copy of it on LP, not this copy here, but he definitely had it in his vinyl collection. My sisters were into it as well. My mum is a huge fan of this artist as well. She loved him to bits because my mum is a massive fan of soul music, which I've mentioned on the channel a few times before. So the album I'm talking about, it is Terence Trent D'Arby with Introducing the Hardline According to. So this guy was just an incredible talent, just right out the gate. His voice is just unbelievable. So for me, kind of like a bit of a hybrid of, the likes of, I hear James Brown in there, Sam Cooke, Prince, I think was a big influence, obviously a contemporary of Terence Trent D'Arby's at the time. But yeah, this album was just, it is just phenomenally good. I've repeatedly listened to it so many times over the years. I always come back to it. It sounds great as well. So there's all the lyrics there. But there was a real assuredness to Terence. He was winning awards left, right, and centre. He was having massive, massive hits with this album. I think, it sold incredibly well as well. I think it did, millions of units, I think, around the world. So just an absolute blockbuster of a record. But, its commercial appeal is certainly backed up with its artistic integrity. So you can see here on the hype sticker, including Sign Your Name, If You Let Me Stay, Dance Little Sister, and Wishing Well. So they were all huge singles off the album, and I have to say that they're pretty much all of my favourite songs on this album. They are all just amazing songs. But the rest of the album is great as well. I want to give a shout out to As Yet Untitled, which is this gorgeous a cappella song, which is the penultimate track before it goes into a wonderful take of Who's Loving You. But As Yet Untitled is just it's just goosebumps, that one. It's just Terence's voice, and just the range in it, the depth, the control of it. Phenomenal singer. And he was also someone as well, clearly highly photogenic, endlessly marketable. He had sound bites for days as well. He knew how to court the press and the critics, and he was also a brilliant dancer as well. So he did kind of come, fully formed as a package, as an artist, which, for a debut artist at the time was quite rare, I think, in that regard. But yeah, other than As Yet Untitled, because these are, some of my real faves, I want to give a mention to Let's Go Forward as well, which is just this lovely sort of like a bit of a kind of a late night feel to that one. I always kind of felt that Let's Go Forward always reminded me of something that maybe Marvin Gaye would have sang on the Midnight Love album. So if anybody's got any comment on that, whether they agree with where I'm coming from with that, I always felt like it had that sort of that vibe to it of like a later Marvin Gaye track, sort of similar to something like Sexual Healing in terms of its mood and tone. But then you've got other things on here, like obviously Dance Little Sisters, so very reminiscent of James Brown. Wishing Well is just incredible. And yeah, the opening track as well before it goes into If You Let Me Stay, If You All Get to Heaven, is a great opener as well. So there's not a bad song on that one. That's why it's at number 3. But yeah, those are the highlights. And Sign Your Name is just, it's just an absolutely classic song. That Sign Your Name Across My Heart, Want You to Be My Baby. It's just, great songwriting. So brilliant 80s soul pop. A little bit of rock in there as well, but I'd say that's quite restrained. It's more of a soul record, that one, and a very, very brilliant one at that. So that's Terence Trent D'Arby with Introducing the Hardline According to. And obviously Terence Trent D'Arby now is no longer known as Terence Trent D'Arby. He's now known as Sananda Maitreya. So just wanted to get that in there as well. Okay, so this is number 2. Right, so there's no mistaking the fact that this is a rock album. This one rocks, and it rocks hard. Loved it from being a kid. just it lives in here, this one. I mean, both these two do, but I've formed friendships with, lifelong friendships with, like, my mates from school, a couple of them in particular, Brovy and Martin, if you're watching, because we just all discovered that we had a shared love for this band. And again, heard them all the time growing up in the house and stuff, so you can't, couldn't get away from the sounds of them, and then just went on to love them for myself when I got a little bit older. And and when I say a little bit older, I was still, like in junior school or whatever. But yeah, I am talking about Guns N' Roses with Appetite for Destruction. So this is my number 2 for 1987. Yeah, this is quite a beat up copy, this one, everybody. I got this really cheap. It was like a house clearance. I think I paid like £4 or £5 for it. It doesn't have the original inner in it. It's just a plain white one. And even though the record needed a good cleaning up, it does play through. There's no problem with the record. So as soon as I think I get the chance to, pick up, because I'd like to get an original of this really rather than a reissue. This is an old pressing of it, but I think it's more just if I find one out in the wild that I replace it with, then I will do so if I've got the the budget, etc., to do it. But yeah, it's perfectly fine copy for now. The album plays, that's the main thing. So there we go. Got a brilliant photograph of the band there at the back. On the back cover there they all are. So yeah, I got Izzy Stradlin, obviously Axl Rose there, Duff McKagan, Slash, and then Steve Adler on the drums there. Okay, so yeah, it's an absolute rocker. It's a masterpiece in my opinion of just hard rock music, coming out of LA in the sort of mid going into the late 80s. So very influential. I've seen Guns N' Roses live a couple of times now. Saw them once with Slash, and then I saw them once with Buckethead as well, who's incredible. So yeah, let's go to my favourites. I mean, yeah, this is just ridiculously good. And I think as well, another one of the reasons I really fell for the Manics. God, they're always on my mind, aren't they? Why I fell for Guns N' Roses as much as I did, even though from loving them as a kid, is when I got into the Manics a little bit later again. Guns N' Roses are a huge favourite of the Manics, so that cemented my love for Guns N' Roses even more, because my favourite band loved them too and were a huge influence on their early music, especially on Generation Terrorist. So, right, Welcome to the Jungle, It's So Easy. I can't name only a few here. I just can't. Night Train, Out to Get Me, Mr. Brownstone, Paradise City. I mean, that's just side one. It's just rock brilliance, really sleazy, kind of dirty, bluesy, rocking, even a bit of punk in play. I mean, It's So Easy is like quite punky. Yeah, it's just brilliant. So good. And then side 2, My Michelle, Think About You. The legendary Sweet Child of Mine with that, lovely twisty-turny intro guitar riff by Slash that, again, is a rite of passage for any aspiring guitarist trying to get the fingers around that one. You're Crazy, Anything Goes, and Rocket Queen. There you go, I've named a lot. I won't do that for the next album because it's a double, but I did it for that one. Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses. Yeah, I love it. That's one to put on whenever I want to rock out, which is quite often. Yeah. Music to make me move, music to make me groove. Just very cool. It does what it does. It is what it is. It makes the statements it makes. It rocks, and that's what it's about. So, obviously the lyrics in places, yeah, but in terms of, again, I'm always honest with these rankings and these videos, and I've got to put things forward that means something to me, and that album definitely means something to me on a lot of levels. So yeah, Guns N' Roses there with Appetite for Destruction. Okay, right, so this takes me to number 1 then. Okay, number 1. So, favourite artist of all time, mentioned him on the channel a few times before. It's my favourite album by this artist, favourite album of all time, by him. I just continue to be astonished by it, by the breadth of it, the experimentation. the use of an alter ego for certain tracks as well, which I think is really unusual and just very in keeping with this artist's vision and perspective, and it just crosses into so many different musical territories and does it so brilliantly that it was the runaway number one. It's a truly special statement by a truly special artist, and it's a masterpiece. And I am talking about Prince with Sign of the Times. So this is my number one for 1987. And again, if you're here still with me listening and you're looking at this Prince record with me now, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Okay, so there we go. So it is a gatefold, I think. No, it isn't. I thought it was a gatefold. How odd. There you go, it's not. Which is strange given how often I play it. I must just subconsciously have thought it was. I don't know what that's about, but there you go, it isn't. They didn't invest in a gatefold for him, but there you go, there's the music. One of Prince's best album covers as well, that. Because as much as I love Prince, I do think at times some of the album covers on his albums are pretty dreadful. That's just my opinion. Pretty dreadful. This certainly is not. This is a great front cover. Again, tells a story. I love the fact that he's just there, obscured and slightly out of shot. You've got all that chaos there behind him. The drum set and everything set up. It's just brilliant. That is. It's great cover. Love the use of the gold on it as well, with the colour palette. Okay, so let's take out the records. Show you these inners. Okay, so there's one. There we go. Pretty sure that's Cat Glover there, modelling there, who's in the group at this time with Prince. There we go. And then we've got the artist there, looking on. No doubt composing his next masterpiece or something there. Having a little think. Okay. So, where to start with Sign of the Times? I mean, all I will say before I go into the favourites is that if it's been a while since you've heard it or you've never heard it before, then I can't really. I mean, I can make a case for it, as I've done with a lot of these albums here today, but I think you just have to go away and listen to it. It's a big album, it's a long listen, but I personally just continue to discover new things in it every time I hear it. It is an album that for me continues to grow. There are things in it that even after all these years of playing it, it just astonishes me, things in the production work, little nuances that come to light. Choices regarding his instrumentation, things that he plays, things that he chooses not to play, his vocal delivery, the range, as I mentioned before. There's just so much to get into with this album that all I can say is please just give it a listen and see if it's something that lights you up in the way that it does me. Okay, so absolute top faves, because I'm not going to cheat again like I did with Guns N' Roses. Right, Sign of the Times, the title track is one of Prince's best ever lyrics, in my opinion. It's one of his greatest ever social commentary lyrics, and the performance is superb. The instrumentation is very stripped back. I absolutely love the Ballad of Dorothy Parker, a very underrated song for me in the overall Prince canon. I don't think that song gets enough due or attention, but I think it is stunning. Beautiful song, that. Again, I'm just picking out my, just a few favourites, because if I keep doing every track, then the videos are going to get even longer than they are. Starfish and Coffee is, it's just poppy, a little bit throwaway, sort of almost like a psychedelic tinge thing. Slow Love is one of my favourites of his, when he's getting sort of full on, and sort of deep and kind of getting into his romantic crooner. Prince sort of, doing his typical Prince thing there, but Slow Love is brilliant. And then in very typical fashion, because it's Prince, he has a beautiful song like that, that, kind of gets all the mood going and everything, and, the lights are low and everything. And then he follows it up with a song like Hot Thing, which is like a complete jar in terms of the sort of tone and the thematics, but that's Prince for you. He was so contradictory in many ways, and I think oftentimes with his albums, his track listings do actually attest to that contradiction that he could often be. So, you know, he can create one mood 1 minute with Slow Love, and then the next thing he can break that mood with something like Hot Thing. Not to say that it's not a good song, it's just that that was just what Prince did. Then we've got You Got the Look, which was his duet with Sheena Easton, massive hit, great song. If I Was Your Girlfriend is the greatest example on here of what I was talking about earlier with his alter ego. So his alter ego was Camille, and he achieved that alter ego by manipulating his voice on the album, you know, using pitch shifting and various tools to make the voice sound feminized and androgynous. So Camille was this other side of Prince that, you know, that was used to convey different parts of his vision and the subjects that he wanted to sing about. But yeah, the words of If I Was Your Girlfriend are extremely you know, intriguing, and it is a great piece of songwriting yet again, both from a lyrical and musical perspective. Strange Relationship is great. Excuse me. Then towards the end we get I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man, which is a bit of a rocker. That's always reminded me a little bit of like something that Bruce Springsteen would do. The Cross basically out U2's U2. It is very U2 sounding to me, but it does it extremely well. You know, The Cross, it's very epic. And then we get It's Gonna Be a Beautiful Night, which has always reminded me of Earth, Wind and Fire, which were a group that were a huge influence on Prince. And then we get Adore at the end as well to finish. So yeah, a staggering achievement, a masterpiece of an album. Please do let me know in the comments if this would be your number one for 1987. It was most certainly mine. And please do let me know if you think it is either one of Prince's best albums or his best album. In my opinion, I think it's his best album. Okay, and that is that. So 1987 has been brought to a close with Prince Rogers Nelson. So again, thank you very much indeed, everybody, for being here. I've thoroughly enjoyed recording this video, and I've thoroughly enjoyed working through the 1980s. Only got a couple of years left to do now, and then I'll get thinking as to what I'm going to be doing next. So if you enjoyed what I did today and you would like to leave a thumbs up on the video, I would be really appreciative if you did. It really does mean a lot to me, and it helps the channel to grow. Also, if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed my content and the way that I like to deliver things, and if you want to take refuge in records, then please do consider subscribing to the Vinyl Sanctuary. It would mean a lot if you did, and you can just click that notification bell and it will give you all of your alerts as to when I have new content landing. So other than that, as I mentioned at the very start of the video, I've done my other 80s videos if you'd like to go and watch them. And please do leave comments as well, because I do enjoy reading through them and responding to people. So let me know how you thought I did. Let me know what favourites you would have in there as well for 1987. And until next time, thank you again, and bye for now.